Hey everybody, welcome back. Call the whole wedding off. Just call it off.
Let's call the whole thing off.
Am I the a-hole for transferring my assets to my daughter before my marriage?
This can't be good.
I, female 28, had my daughter, female 9, while still in college. I'm still ashamed to admit I don't know who the dad is.
Who's your daddy?
I don't know.
It was a drunken party mishap. My parents disowned me, and sympathizing with my plight, my grandpa took me in. He had a bad relationship with my dad. Grandpa died 2 years ago, leaving me his entire estate. He was kinda rich. I started dating my fiance Max, male 35, around 4 years back. He has 2 kids, female 6, male 10. He has full-time custody of them as well. Their mom married someone else and moved across the country. She pays child support, but makes no effort to contact or visit them. We've lived together for over a year now, and everyone gets along pretty well. We stay at the house my grandfather left me and split all the bills and expenses 50-50, okay? But keep the rest of the finances separate. He popped the question 2 months ago, and I said yes. I think he smells money. I'm just saying, I think he smells money. A few weeks ago, we had a minor fight. My daughter's birthday's coming up and I wanted to gift her a pony. She's been learning to ride for a few years now and really wants one. When I mentioned this to Max in passing conversation, he got mad at me for wasting our money on stupid gifts like this.
Oh.
Why? Because it's not your daughter that she's giving the gift to? It's her money, babe. That's her money. She can give her daughter a pony if she damn well pleases. I told him I'm not taking anything out of our budget and just buying it out of my money. He then said I should buy his kids' ponies too to make it fair. Absolutely not. I said, sure, let's split the expense. He told me I should buy it myself since I am rich and it is my decision to buy my daughter a pony in the first place. No, literally call the whole wedding off. No.
Let's call the whole thing off.
He's trying to make it equal for all the kids in the household and don't have money to waste like this. Okay, but is it their birthday? Have they been learning how to ride a horse? I got his point. I don't. But I also felt that he would want me to make everything equal with his kids too. I get they will be my kids too and I should not treat them different, but they're not your kids yet, babes. I also felt like my daughter should not have to split her generational wealth. It is not mine, it's my grandpa's, and he loved her. He left it to me believing I would pass it on to her. So I made a trust fund, transferring 50% of the assets I inherited into that. See, the good thing about trust funds is nobody gets access to it except for the person that it's for. Doesn't matter if you marry someone, that trust fund is off limits. It has rules regarding reasons I can make a withdrawal out of, like education, separate living allowance based on age, money for marriage, for house, and entire balance made available at 30. I set up another trust fund for myself, putting 30% assets into it with yearly allowance and then dissolves after 50, hoping to retire then. Balance 20% is mostly the house, land, and emergency funds. I did it so whatever income I earn, I will be able to make it equally split within kids, but inheritance will stay intact for my or my daughter's future without having to be split or used for my stepkids. My fiance found out about this a couple of days ago. Saw some related papers in my drawer. He was really mad at me for cutting him and his kids out. So let me get this straight. You guys live in the house that your grandfather gave to you. You split bills 50-50, and he's mad about you putting money away for your retirement and your daughter? Careful with this one. That it is not fair for me to keep 90% of my wealth just to myself and my kid when he's sharing all of his with us. You're not entitled to that money just because you're marrying that person. You're just not. I said I was sharing everything I make too. The inheritance is kept aside. He is not bringing any inheritance into the union either.
Cheap fuck.
He said that's because he has none. It's incredibly selfish of me not to share. It's incredibly selfish of him to expect it, to lock it away. To add that with this, my daughter will have a luxurious life while his kids have an average life. Since there's no way we can afford all of that for them with our income only, then get a new job and work harder and make more money. Why is that up to your wife? If you want a better life for your family, you have to work harder to provide that. I said generational wealth is separate and it should go to the biological family. Right, that is kind of how it works, especially if it's in a trust fund. He called me an a-hole for discriminating and depriving his kids of an equally good life. Am I the a-hole? No. And I honestly kind of feel like this is a major red flag. Like, he smells the money and he sees an opportunity and he wants to marry you because he sees that you will provide something that he cannot. I totally disagree though, by the way, with that statement that I just made. You can provide the kind of life that you want for your family. You gotta work hard. hard. You gotta find a high income skill and you gotta work for it. But you can't expect to be given that money by somebody else. You do realize because of his attitude, you've already protected your child's assets once he brought up marriage. That is kind of a good point. I feel like it's kind of like, it's not very romantic to do this. Like, it's kind of like you're making someone sign a prenup, you know? It's like, okay, so you love me, but do you love me if there's no money involved if we separate?
I doubt it.
And that's the thing, right? You did this, in my opinion, because you know his intentions aren't honorable. Not the a-hole, but follow your instincts. I agree, and since he has 2 kids and you only have 1, if you split the inheritance equally, his kids would take a larger share of your daughter's inheritance than she will. I would not marry this person. Major red flag, babes. Major red flag. Plus, I have to wonder, is he spending the child support money he receives from his ex equally on OP's daughter? Good point. I don't know if he's legally obligated to do that, but his kids would essentially have 3 sources of income. Uh-oh. If you do marry him, have a bulletproof prenup prepared and signed. And if he has a problem with it, which it sounds like he kind of does, that tells you everything that you need to know. Oh, there's an update. I know this is quick, but I'm someone who always acts quickly, so here's the update. I had a much needed conversation with Max. I showed him the post, replies, advices, and experiences. He looked defeated to see this. At the core, there were 2 issues. How much do I trust him?
0.
How do we handle finances moving forward? He told me he was ready to sign a prenup before I even asked. Well, that's good. If that would alleviate my worries. He also said all he wants is to have everyone in the household feel equal, to not make his kids feel resentful, to make it fair to everyone. I understood that. It's not, okay, but wait a second. They're not your kids though, so like, and that's not their grandfather. This is sticky. This is a sticky situation. The fact is, there is no way that it can be made fair to everyone. If I want to give my daughter the best of everything, I should give the same to his kids too. But that's not always possible even with our combined incomes. For example, if her love for riding stays, both me and her would prefer she attend a private school providing equestrian sports. Tuition for that and related costs can be availed from her trust. But we would not be able to afford to pay tuition for his kids out of our combined income. Trust is already set up, and even I cannot withdraw money for their tuition. Even if I could, I would be reducing my retirement fund or my daughter's inheritance. Same goes for car, tuition fund, and all other expenses my daughter will have covered. But even within our incomes, we can't give equally to Max's kids. Further, marriage is a big risk, even with a prenup. If he takes on debt during the course of marriage, I will also be liable. A lot of the comments have instilled a lot of fear in me. I'm also worried about the resentment finance is going to build. I love Max, I really do, but I love my daughter a million times more. She is my life. I have to accept that her future opportunities is more important to me than a marriage, at least for the next 9 years. Who am I kidding? Till my daughter can be fully independent.
Never.
And I cannot fault him for wanting the same for his kids. Then he needs to go out and earn more money. He is just being a dad. But I cannot take away from my daughter to give to his kids. I can only give equal love and care to them, equal attention. Financially, we are just not compatible. Long story short, I gave back my ring. Good for you. I don't even know why money was even brought into this, you know? Like, it should not, you should not have been guilt tripped into feeling like you wanted to give a better life for your daughter. Like, money shouldn't even be a part of the question, you know? Engagement and marriage is off the table for now. After all, there's no real necessity to get married. We are both sad about this turn, but the fact that he did not kick up a fuss is a bit reassuring. I really do believe that our companionship is just as valuable to him as to me. Just that we are also parents who want the best for our kids. I mean, yeah, not getting married is another solution, depending on like what your common laws dictate. In Ontario, if you don't have a cohab agreement set up, after 2 years, I think they actually own like half of your house. Money's a tricky thing. Tricky. We don't know where our relationship is going. I would still like to have him in my life, but he's also free to leave and find another person. I did not ask him to leave and he's staying for now. I will try to keep normal stuff equal between all, whatever I can afford to do out of my income. My daughter is still getting a pony, as she should, queen. You get that princess everything. It's a gift from her great grandpa after all. I would not compromise her life and choices. This is the thing too, is like by giving one daughter something and then also giving the other kids the same thing, you're also creating kind of like this like expectation for them in life that they will never have to work for anything or that they're entitled to something because their sibling gets it. That is the way to raise entitled kids and then entitled adults. You cannot raise these stepchildren with the precedence that whenever their stepsister gets a present that they're gonna get the same present, because that's gonna be a harsh reality check. That's not how life works. My grandpa took me in for her sake. He left it all to me for her. I cannot compromise on that, and there's no need for 3 ponies.
Go on.
Neither of his kids know or have shown any interest in riding. If they want one after seeing my daughter with hers, we will be getting them riding lessons and they can share. That's a good solution, actually. They will be getting the best birthday presents we can afford that aligns with their intents for their birthdays, if Max sticks around until then. I will also be protecting the house and the land as well. Good. He cannot make claims on it as far as I know, but I will be discussing it with my estate lawyer. Thank you for helping me see what I refuse to. Love had me blind. This is the thing, right? Like, we all like to be hopeless romantics. We all love to just like assume the best in people. But when it comes down to it, if something happens, you will regret not having a prenup. You will regret not putting anything in writing because you're just trying to protect yourself. And by the way, it also protects him too. You're not the a-hole, my dear. And I'm proud of you for being cautious. I want to call off my wedding because my husband is embarrassed about my culture. Oh God. Okay, here we go. Hi, I really need some advice. I might omit some things just because a lot of my friends are here. I'm 26 years old and I'm getting married to my husband, 28. I'm from a small village and moved to the US 5 years ago. That's important because in such a short amount of time, I'm not assimilated to the US culture and I'm still very involved in mine. When I met my husband, a few weeks into us dating, he told me he was gonna marry me as a joke.
What do you think I am, some kind of a joke?
But I told him how marriage works in my culture and he praised how beautiful it was. Fast forward to now, we agreed on 2 weddings, one of my culture and the other an American wedding. Sounds expensive. In my village, when you get married, both spouses get a gold bangle sort of thing. It's equivalent to a wedding ring. There is a ceremony and party for that as well. It's molded on your wrist and it can't come off until you use like a saw or something like that.
Convenient.
During my traditional wedding, I received a gift of these fruits I ate back home that are truly my favorite, but I haven't been able to find in the US. My husband jokes that he was not looking forward to smelling that every day, which is fine because I hate the smell of sausage, but it's something that he loves.
I bet he does.
I stayed back home for a week because I had missed it, and my husband came home early to prepare for the American wedding. I came home Monday, but didn't see my husband since he had work, and by the time he finished, I was sleeping. We had dinner last night, and I saw that he didn't have his bangle, and he told me he thought it was just for the party. I explained to him again how important this is to me. He then said I couldn't seriously expect him to wear it all the time. But you kind of like, didn't you like explain it to him like in advance?
It's tradition.
What about my family's tradition?
I asked him why not, and he told me it made him look unprofessional. I got like, how big of a bangle are we talking? Like, is this like a really like massive bangle, or is it something that he can like hide? I got upset with him and left. He ended up calling me to explain how it holds no cultural significance to him, so I told him. I rebutted, asking him if he was fine with me not wearing a wedding ring as it holds no cultural significance to me. Hey. He got a bit upset and gave me a lecture on how if we were in my country, he would wear it. I feel so turned off and uninterested in this relationship that I'm thinking of calling off the wedding.
Let's call the whole thing off.
Edit. He did know he would have to wear it permanently. Okay. We talked about this in the early stages of dating and several times leading up to now when I've had family members get married and when he proposed. He also works from home with the occasional in-person meetings. Let me just say that I went to my best friend's wedding recently. She's from one side of the world. Her family is from Asia and her now husband is from the Middle East. And they actually combined both cultural wedding traditions in their wedding, and it became just this beautiful celebration of love and culture. It was amazing to watch them both respect each other's cultures so much that they wanted it to be a part of their wedding and their lives. That to me, it made me so emotional to watch that because like, although they are different and they have different traditions, their parents are from different areas of the world, all their family doesn't speak the same language, they still wanted to pay homage to each other's cultures. One did not take precedence over the other. You're also telling me that he had the bangle put on and then he took it off? How did your husband remove his bangle? He went to a shop and they cut it off. Okay, but wait, what? But he knows he's not supposed to do that? So he cut it off, which doesn't mean he's denying the marriage. Basically, it's a divorce. Essentially, yes, because you only take it off in divorce. Men who aren't married don't wear one. He is not wearing one. Oh. He doesn't want to be involved in your culture. I honestly see red flags. I think the bangles of those religious cultures are beautiful, and if my husband was a part of it, I would honor traditions just as I expected he would honor mine. That's what makes life wonderful, you know? Especially in a multicultural marriage, a multicultural family. It's just so juicy. It's just so lovely to have all of that melting pot of each culture together. I will never understand people,
Me neither.
who get married to someone and don't respect that person's culture. I'm personally seeing major red flags. You gotta talk to him about it. Like the fact that he went and took it off, like literally had it, someone saw it off. That's just disrespectful. Am I the a-hole for canceling my brother's wedding? To make a novel short, my brother met his future wife at a party 3 years ago. Honestly, we never got along, but I always tried to put up a peaceful front because my brother seemed blissfully happy with her. Ella was mean to me a lot. Like, a lot. She would make comments about my weight, my makeup, and especially my dog. She hated animals and hated that I would bring my lab, Toast, to my parents' house. It always just felt like something aimed to hurt me. When the two got engaged, she asked me to be her maid of honor since she had no sisters or many girlfriends. That's not surprising. And since my brother seemed thrilled, I obliged. What I failed to realize when I accepted the role was that to her, maid of honor meant planning the entire wedding. I was booking venues, florists, jazz band, everything. Even worse, she expected me to put my credit card down for all of it. What? Am I missing something? Is that like a tradition or is she just entitled? Because that's not, I don't know any traditions that like would ask that. My brother and her are not exactly well off, and since I have a well-paying job, I didn't mind holding the deposits, but it was starting to add up a lot. You're not getting that money back, babe. Like, every time I asked her about it, she would say it would all be paid back by her parents before the wedding. Yeah? I don't know about that. Flash forward to last week, about 3 weeks before the wedding, and she's unbearable to be around. She can't last more than a few sentences before snapping at anyone. So when, of course, I brought up the money, she hit the fan. I asked if she'd received the updated receipt of everything owed, and she exploded. She called me a whole line of terrible names. The audacity. Like, literally the audacity. You have literally put this entire wedding on your credit card, and she has the audacity to be mad at you. She called me a whole line of terrible names, but the one that stuck out was her saying, "What do you need the money for anyway? Your sick dog is dead now." Oh! My beautiful Toasty died about a month before, after he fought the bravest battle with cancer. He was my soul dog, and I was devastated. I blinked at her and simply left the room, having no energy to even respond to something so cruel. I went back to my car, and after the 20 silent minute drive home, I parked the car, immediately called the vendors, and canceled any deposit under my card. Every single one. After almost 20 calls, all that was left of her wedding was the dress and the flower arch. That is literally so messed up. Never bite the hand that feeds you. Are you dumb? Are you dumb? I texted my brother a short explanation. I told him every vendor would be contacting him if they wished to keep their services, and they were now responsible for covering everything. That should have been how it was from the beginning. And I would no longer be attending. It was a matter of minutes before my phone started to explode, and I turned it off. It's been a few days, and I haven't talked to anyone but my mom, who thankfully understands where I was coming from. My brother has tried to call, but I feel terrible, both about what I did and what she said. I know what I did was extreme. I mean, no, they still had the opportunity to pay for it themselves. Where are these parents with the checkbook now? You said that they would pay her back right before the wedding. It's right before the wedding. I know what I did was extreme, but I also couldn't sit by and practically enable her cruelty anymore. I still can't help but feel bad for ruining my brother's big day. So I don't know, am I the a-hole for this? I feel like if you just kind of stood by and did nothing, your brother also wouldn't know how terrible she was. And I'm kind of like confused as to why he's still marrying a person who treats his sister like this. Not the a-hole, they were never gonna pay you back. This is what I'm saying. She shouldn't be mad. According to them, they were gonna pay for everything, right? It's a good thing she showed how wicked she was before you got stuck with the bill. I'm sorry about your loss. Don't let anyone make you feel bad about what you did. They shouldn't be getting married if they don't have the money. Period. If her parents were going to pay, then they can put down the cards for deposits. Literally, no harm done. When you give family money, don't ever expect to get it back. You're not the a-hole, my dear. Your brother better wise up. Subscribe!